I was just gonna say I like talking to people from that have like that military experience that have done that crazy shit like that, because it's never what you think it's gonna sound like. Like I always imagined those guys in that AC-130 were in some bubble of safety, but he talked about getting shot at all the time and getting, a couple of them got shot down, like not him, but like those AC-130 gunships have been shot down because they just loiter over the area at low altitude circling.
I guess it depends who you're fighting, right? And the Russians can shoot them down, but who are they fighting?
I think Taliban shot one down with, some sort of missile or rocket or something. They went to nighttime flying mostly after that. But like the fact that some of those munitions, I guess, have radioactive materials in them, and all of them have lead in them. And so when they're firing quickly up there, they're just enveloped in this cloud of radioactive lead that they're just breathing in the whole time.
But myth was busted on PKN. You explained to us that nuclear fallout is actually not even pish posh. No big deal.
Well, no. If you want to talk about nuclear fallout, that's real dangerous. That's the materials that have been
on PKN. You said, Tuesday Kyle doesn't think much of nuclear weapons at all.
Yeah, he was mocking them openly.
Yes.
No. Well,
he said, "I dare someone to nuke me."
Well, the idea
I moved
is
to Atlanta
nuclear...
just to see if those motherfuckers would try.
Yeah.
But my point was, if you nuked Atlanta, we'd be able to move back in here in 5 or 6 years and it'd be fine. Like it's not going to irradiate then poison the ground in some way. Like that's just not how nuclear weapons work.
Here's my thinking on that. I've often I have no doubt that in 5 years they'd tell us we could come back to Atlanta, resume your jobs, contribute to the GDP. It's safe. Trust me. The question I have is, would they be able to lie to me? Like, are there enough Geiger counters? Aren't that rare? People can measure it. Are they going to tell me that it's safe when it's not? Are they going to be able to lie? I don't know.
They probably would. Like
you
they
can
would
visit the Trinity test site. You can go to where the first nuclear weapon went off. You can go to a lot of them, I think. Just because it goes off, again, it's not one of those 40K poison the earth weapons. And going back to the Chernobyl thing, that wasn't a nuclear explosion. That was a steam explosion where the roof blew off from steam pressure. There's no nuclear fission happening. I mean, it's just that the radioactive material is burning. There isn't some fissile explosion like with a nuclear weapon, or that starts the fusion.
I get what you're saying, but it just doesn't seem right.
Why?
Because I imagine a big bomb going off in like Nagasaki and everyone having to be like, all right, next 5 years, we're out of here. But you can actually go back real soon afterward, start rebuilding and shit. Like clearly you can do that because they did do that for Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they didn't have like everyone dying of cancer the next 2 years, So I know what you're saying is right, but it doesn't seem like it should be.
Even Chernobyl. Now you have to trust the Russians to believe this, but didn't like 3 people die at Chernobyl?
Maybe in like the actual like steam explosion, but like way more people died in issues like following it.
That poisoned a half a continent. Like they kept that shit secret. The cancers and the stillbirths and everything that created. Who knows what the number is on that?
Yeah.
Who knows is perfect because that's where I'm stuck, right? They told us the nuclear fallout was like washing over Europe and then across. Like it went up and then west. Something to do with the way the winds were going at the time. And that like mushrooms were going to be dangerous for some very long time. I don't know. 31 people died as a result of Chernobyl. The UN estimates that 50 people died, and a further 4,000 might eventually die. Well, it was a while ago.
Well, they're talking about the dosage. They're talking about the dosage initially, like that 4,000 would die. But like again, it was that burning fire of radioactive dust and particulates and goo and vapor and all that stuff that was floating and then settling on people. That ash that lands on you that's radioactive and you stick it in your mouth. That's the poison.
But if you die at 75 instead of 76, did Chernobyl really kill you?
No. But dude, that's one of the best miniseries I've ever seen. I think it's like a top 5 all-time miniseries.
It's
Chernobyl. Solid. When those people are dying of the radiation sickness later on, it's like, man, you got to sneak your boy a handgun into that prison or something. Into that hospital. Like you can't let him go out like that. They kept that one guy alive for so long.
Oh, yeah. They were letting that pregnant woman just hang out in the nuke wing. And the woman kept being like, you are not allowed to be here, but I will like run cover for you, even though that baby good as dead.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And the
sure.
problem was her husband had absorbed so much radiation that he was radioactive. He was giving off the radiation and poisoning the baby that was inside of her womb, because he was one of the cleanup guys, like pushing a shovel, like scooping up chunks of like radioactive material, and that whole thing was great.
I'm always coming down hard on NASA because I want them to do more cool stuff, and they're on a fucking 60-year drought of cool stuff, and so we need to see something neat. How about this? How launch nukes at the moon? I want to see how big nukes have gotten since we first invented them, because you hear stuff where it's like, the Nagasaki bomb was actually bitch made compared to the Tsar bomb that the Russians tested, and now the Tsar bomb is bitch made compared to this new hypothetical one that we have. I think the Tsar bomb wasn't nuclear; it was just the largest traditional bomb ever, right?
False. No, nuclear. It's the biggest nuclear bomb ever built.
We never beat that.
No,
it hasn't
it
been
would be
exploded
silly
yet,
to
so you
beat
don't
it.
know.
So
they did explode it. They tested it.
Am I wrong? Okay.
They dropped it in Siberia out of a cargo plane. It had a parachute. It was enormous. It couldn't be towed by any, carried underneath.
I want a bomb so big that we can see it hit the moon.
You would see a nuclear weapon hit the moon, but there's a test ban treaty. But I think the Russians just pulled out of that, right? I think they literally pulled out of it. So maybe it is okay to go ahead and hit the moon. It's funny you mentioned that. Werner von Braun came up with an idea. He was the Nazi who NASA took to like do the whole space program. He invented NASA. He's the one who got us to the moon, the Nazi man.
Yeah.
His idea, he wanted to colonize the whole solar system, and he thought we could do it by like 2000.
Those guys dreamt big.
well, his way of moving the spaceship is by nuclear explosions behind the spaceship you would one after another. You would explode a nuclear weapon behind the spaceship. The shockwave would push it forward, accelerating it, and then you would drop another nuclear weapon behind you, let it get to the correct distance, and repeat that process over and over. And they said theoretically it could accelerate a spaceship to like 10 or 15% the speed of light, get to like the next star system in 50 years or something.
Where is it going?
That'd be cool.
Where's what going?
Well, first of all, I had to process some of this. Did you say 50 times the speed of light?
15% the speed of light, he said.
10 or 15% the speed of light.
Oh, okay.
Which is probably fast as shit.
Because based on what I know about the speed
of light.
It'd
be 18,000 miles per second. 18,600 miles per second.
And then you have to slow down, too. So they just put do they just nuke in front of them and push them slower?
Yeah, I guess you would want some retro rockets to do that, right?
When you're like just flying through the void of space at 15% of the speed of light,
powered by
a lot of nukes, you got to push it down.
That would be, well, again, what I'm not talking about, like it would immediately would go real fast. But like the idea was that if you did enough of those explosions over time, it might be years or something of dozens of explosions, hundreds or thousands. I don't know what they said, but just for traveling around in our solar system, I guess that would make you go real fast, because everything else they do seems bitch made to me. Like it's like a lot of pressurized air and I don't know,
pish posh nonsense. We're never going to get anywhere with this pressurized air stuff. Time to harness the power of nukes. Same with energy.
We got so many.
We got to harness. We got to use a bunch of nuclear energy. Get our energy shit solved forever, and then we can focus on the stars.
Renewables
baby.
Are cheaper now. Apparently, renewables are cheaper now than nuclear. Nuclear is so regulated that it's just more expensive. But
it's not like it's doable. Like we could just make nuclear.
You got a lower regulation,
and it'd be way more efficient. Well, then lower regulation, so we can have nuclear power plants. But there's a bunch of money and like the alternatives now. They're lobbying against that. Makes sense. Bunch of silly billies trying to make money.
Wait, what are you for?
I want a nuclear
power plants with less regulation.
If regulation's what's keeping us from doing nuclear power, then we need to get on whatever needs to be handled there so we can do nuclear power, because it's just the most efficient. It's the most effective. It's pretty much forever. It
seems to me we should have.
There's no downtime.
Why is it the most efficient?
It's the most efficient by far. I got into like reading about this like a few months ago. So like I found one site that was like, it's actually the least efficient, and here's the breakdown. And like you click two little things on there and you see it's like brought to you by the alternative energy coalition. And the way that they get those like bogus instruments or measurements where they're like, solar's more efficient in this way. what they assume built into that is that solar doesn't require maintenance, doesn't have downtime. Enormous sums of time on solar plants isn't being used because there isn't sun being absorbed. It's much easier to break. Apparently, there are huge problems of this one breaks and therefore a bunch of other ones did, and I have to do a lot more hunting and pecking and trying to figure shit out. Whereas once you get a nuclear reactor going, it kind of just goes. And it's always pumping it out, always. When wind is shut down for huge portions of the year, nuclear is pumping it out. When solar isn't working for huge portions of the year, nuclear is pumping it out. And it's also it's more central. And so it's not some field the size of New Hampshire that you're having to go through it.
You don't have to sell me on it. I've always thought it was the way to go, just because I thought it was cool. We went and visited the Kiowee power plant when I was in like middle school or high school. I don't remember which, but you know how memory works. I don't remember if I saw it with my eyes or if they showed me a video of it, but we saw like the pool where the cooling rods were, and it glows down there. It's probably light. It's probably lit, but it looks like it glows. And there was a humming noise.
That's pretty cool.
They've got those rods that are in there heating that water up. And I don't know, just walking through there, of course, it's a prop. You walk through a whole like learning annex, and it's the other kind of propaganda. They tell you that a banana is actually more radioactive than this entire power plant, Timmy. Well, unless we have an accident and run out of cold water, which would never happen unless, we did.
As long as you keep infrastructure rolling, it'll work just fine.
Yeah. It really doesn't seem like a great idea to me to have one in somewhere like Japan, which is like earthquake, tsunami, and Godzilla capital of the world. Like bad things can happen. They can interrupt your supply of water to keep the thing cool, and then you actually do have that meltdown fiery thing that's scary. But Jesus Christ, why can't we fill Montana up with those cooling towers?
Exactly. Dude, nuclear is the coolest energy form by far. By far.
I don't know how energy transfer works as far as like for example, if we made a whole bunch of power in Montana, what happens when we try to like pump it to Georgia? Like if we just run a cable to Georgia,
a couple hundred miles
far,
is cool.
right?
Yeah, I don't understand the details of it. I know you can ramp up the voltage, and then the losses are lower, and like high voltage AC transfer. But what you called out was probably a little hyperbolic from like Montana to Georgia.
Yeah,
that's way too far.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you can't have that.
But so
maybe if you had some Elon Musk battery fields that my nuclear is charging, and then I can put those batteries on diesel powered trucks and send them to Georgia, because that's pretty much what we're doing now.
I don't see anything wrong with this.
Every time you plug a Tesla wildly inefficient. You want to ship batteries from Montana?
We're going to support American truckers, Taylor. That's a big part of this bill. I promise you.
You've somehow taken nuclear and made it unworkable.
Hear me out. Electric trucks, and when the batteries get to Georgia, they're not charged anymore. But they're there.
We use the diesel to send them back to get charged.
You back, Slush?
Yes. I have returned.
That's how the Biden economy works. I saw this thing today about all the.
We're talking about nuclear energy and how cool it is.
I think it's
talk about
I like nuclear energy too, and I definitely like it when we're talking about replacing coal, oil, natural gas, like some of the dirtier ones. Sometimes I hear it like when people pitch nuclear energy, they do it to shit on like hydropower, wind power, and solar. And I'm like, I don't know, these things seem to have some value too. It seems like we're letting a lot of just like free energy just float by not harnessing it.
Good mix would be the way. But
right, and the one thing I like about solar is
like not diesel would be great, because like you can literally see the pollution.
People coal rolling. I was driving behind one of those guys recently. Fuck him.
Patriot, keep your mouth shut.
That guy's cool.
Diesel's fucking so expensive in your country.
So fucking girthy.
That guy was like that guy was trumped out. The back of his car.
You didn't have. I had you at roll call. I knew who was voting for.
I 100%. No part of me was like I was about to see an "I'm with her" sticker. Like there's no fucking way.
I just think whenever I see the aircraft carriers, the submarines and stuff that are nuclear powered, and they're like, a piece the size of a golf ball powers this for 2 years. I think that's fairly accurate. It might be 5 years. It's something stupid like that.
Insane.
I'm talking about an aircraft carrier, the thing with 3,000 fucking sailors and 150 planes on it or some shit for years. And it's not like they sit still. We move them around the globe all the time.
You know
we're cool like that.
the military, like, they can't look after anything, and they managed to keep it from not exploding.
It's funny
Surely
you mentioned that.
A private enterprise could do it.
So the Russians have a nuclear-powered icebreaker / cargo ship. And it caught on fire this week.
Oh no!
In the nuclear part, did they get it put out?
I think the cargo part caught on fire. The foreign minister assured everyone that it wasn't a big deal. We were all blowing it out of proportion. So I'm sure
no more.
I'm just imagining a nuclear cloud will be hitting Alaska right about like but
the boat didn't sink.
It's not Ukrainian involved. I don't want to imply that. I think it was in the northern part of their country's.
Russia's capable of fucking shit up by themselves.
Yeah, it's just breaking ice. Is that all it's doing up there?
They called it a ice-breaking cargo ship is what the internet.
Those ice-breaking ships are cool. If you've seen clips of those online where they're just powering through.
We have a couple that dock down here because it's pretty close to Antarctica, and they're pretty cool.